I just wanted to drop by for a moment and say that real spirituality hurts. It's not fun at all. It really hurts to come in contact with truth and with the nature of what you are. And you're not wrong for feeling this way. There is so much hippie talk in spirituality about infinite love and bliss and being peaceful and always relaxed and everything becomes nice. The real process of awakening is a brutal violation of everything you thought was you. It feels like a opening of some sort that you didn't agree upon at all. It contextualizes your entire existence as something that happens unconsensual because you awaken to a part of you that has always existed and always will be. And this realization is very unpleasant. Unpleasant is an understatement. It can be torturous. It can be like awakening to a reality where there's no out. There's no way to escape from it. And then when you are in a state of suffering, this lack of escape feels like torture. It feels like reality in of itself is evil. And you now have the burden of knowing that. And there's nothing you can do to not know that anymore. It's this realization that makes most of the spiritual talk about becoming infinite love and bliss seem like a joke. Because if you're in the midst of it, there's nothing about this that's funny. There's nothing about this that feels like bliss or love. Even if you have sort of glimpses of what liberation can look like, the actual experience towards this doesn't feel nice in the slightest. The sensation is that you go into a deeper and deeper pit of pain and suffering. To be fair, everybody has a different journey, and for some people, it might look differently. Depends on the life experiences that you had and how your life looked like as a whole. But for most people, they will, through meditation, psychedelics, self inquiry, or just general life experiences, come to a point where they realize that this entire life thing is like a very big deal. And for you as an individual, there's a brutality to it that is very hard to grapple with. Also, when you start to realize that you are kind of a selfless being that exists in all shapes or forms, then you also start to empathize way more with other suffering. And the amount of suffering that exists out there in the world becomes very shocking. It becomes very hard to look at any form of life and not feel like sad for it existing. Like it feels like there's something sad about existence itself, as if it was some sort of mistake that should not be like this. I wanted to make this short video because I feel like most people don't acknowledge how deep the pain goes. And I guess I'm just here to say that it is normal. It is part of your path. And the most important thing that you can do is to feel through it deeper. Because the more you resist to what you recognize as true, the more you're going to suffer. Because there's, like, once you see something as true with certainty, all suffering stops making sense. It's like if you are bothered by the pain and suffering of the world, it's important to not reject it or to act as if it doesn't exist. But it's also very important to not imagine you are infinite suffering incarnated, because you're not. You don't need to carry the burden of the entire universe because you already have. You already are being you. So through your life, you already experience everything that must be experienced. But there's no need in imagining suffering that is not yours. There's in a way no need for this type of self-torturing empathy that makes your own life experience worse. You're basically just multiplying suffering from other beings by trying to project like your consciousness into their suffering, which is unnecessary. They're already doing their part. Everybody has to go through its own experience, but there is legitimate salvation where the suffering ends. And I think it's very important to maybe hope is not the right word because you do actually need to give up a lot of hope in the path, because a lot of hope is what is holding you back. But there is actually a point where the pain stops, where the existential suffering stops. And to be aware that this is at the end the destination that you'll reach to when you completely embrace and feel through all the pain. That your perception of reality, when you think that reality is a prison or that life is evil somehow, is a delusion. It is what the ego generates when it has half seen through the nature of existence. It's when the resistance is still online, but it is seen as something constructed. But you haven't seen it fully constructed yet. You haven't seen how absolutely it is constructed. So it's not just kind of not real, it isn't real. And in the same way, your suffering isn't real, it is completely constructed. The difficulty is in believing that feeling through it will actually lead you towards the end, because I remember that when I was in my peak suffering mode, it does feel like it will go on forever. And this feeling of cosmical evil feels like you're coming in contact with some, almost like a sort of cosmic terror. And for everybody who has gone through something like this, the fear that can be felt is so out there. Like, it is very difficult for other people to be able to relate to this when they haven't gone through it themselves. Because, of course, everybody has experienced fear. A lot of people have experienced trauma. And, of course, it can be very horrible and intense. I don't want to make a suffering competition or compare somebody who was, fighting in a war with whatever spiritual awakening is like. I do think they are related at the end of the day. But you can sit in your room doing nothing at all and experience the worst pain imaginable for no goddamn reason. But then imagining that this is what's going to happen to you is most of the time where the suffering comes from. It's not that you're actually suffering that much. It's that your mind makes up the fear that there's a ton of suffering awaiting right around the corner. Like, I knew that I had a lot of flashbacks imagining that suddenly I would wake up and we'd have a nuclear war. This was something I struggled with a lot. Like, I just imagined I'd wake up one day and boom, everything is absolute hell. But it's a delusion of the mind. Like, every time you imagine some sort of anxiety in this direction, it's just completely fabricated and unnecessary. Like, it is very much delusional. It's the opposite of presence. The ego is concerned with what has happened in the past and what is going to happen in the present. The ego is not present because in most present moment experiences, when you're not attached with thought and not attached with ideas of what is going to happen to you, then you're actually just in the moment, and in the moment things are nice. There's an overlay of suffering that comes from the past and projections of the future. And this is what you see through when you experience all the pain and suffering that you're going through. You just feel it for what it actually is and then start to see its illusionary nature. That it's something that's going to come and going to pass. And it's completely fine for being there. And from that, the perception of reality starts to shift. The experience of what it means to be changes. Yeah, so I wanted to validate whatever you're going through right now. Telling you that, for you, it's definitely real in the moment. And to embrace it is necessary. But you also don't need to cower in fear. There's no need to make it into a new identity because there's a way out. And if you've come this far, I'm sure you're going to see it through the end. Once you do, it is very much worth it. It is actually the sanest, most rational, most healthy thing you could possibly do.